to the Royal Club. I have to remember which show I'm on. Thank you for joining us from around the world. We have here Celia and of course Tracy with us from England. We have Alexandra and Frida with us from Holland and Mark from Canada, and many others are joining online because their time zone is different. So we want to be we want to remember that not everybody's on our time zone. It's part of being considerate, I believe. Okay, so tonight we are going to talk about our worth. It's so important to know our worth, and then of course we are going to discuss it, but I want to share a wonderful story with you, and later I will post this on in our club, but so you can kind of go over it and chew on it. But basically an experiment was made. Now remember, we're talking about worth, our worth. A man at a metro station in Washington DC sat down and started to play on a violin. It was an actual true event. It was a cold January morning. He played 6 Bach pieces for about 45 minutes. During that time, since it was rush hour, it was calculated that thousands of people went through the station, most of them on their way to work. 3 minutes went by and a middle-aged man noticed that there was a musician playing. He slowed his pace and stopped for a few seconds and then hurried up to meet his schedule. A minute later, a violinist received his first $1 tip. A woman threw a money, in the tile, and without stopping, continued walking. So she didn't even stop to enjoy even 1 second of that beautiful music. But at least she, expressed that she recognized that it was a beautiful music. Nevertheless, she went on her way. A few minutes later, someone leaned against the wall to listen to him, but the man looked at his watch and started walking again. Clearly, he was late for an appointment. The one who paid the most attention was a 3-year-old boy. Children are wonderful. His mother tagged him along, hurried, but the kid stopped to look at the violinist. Finally, the mother pushed hard and the child continued to walk, turning his head all the time. So he came, just picture this, he kept looking back because he wanted to see this musician, he wanted to hear the music, but then he was dragged by his mother. So this action was repeated by several other children. All the parents, without exception, forced them to move on. In the 45 minutes, the musician played, only 6 people stopped and stayed for a while. About 20 gave him money, but continued to walk at their normal pace. He collected $32 within these 45 minutes. When he finished playing and silence took over, no one even noticed that he left. No one applauded, nor was he even recognized or given any kind of recognition. No one knew this, but the violinist was Joshua Bell, one of the most famous and best-known musicians in the whole world. He played one of the most intricate pieces ever written with a violin, worth $3.5 million. So not only he played the best music ever, Bach, of course, we Europeans know about music, at least classical music. He was Joshua Bell, one of the best violinists in the whole world. And he was playing on a violin that is worth $3.5 million. I'm assuming it was a Stradivarius, at least. I'm assuming it's probably a Stradivarius. 2 days before he's playing on the subway, Joshua Bell sold out a theater in Boston at an average price $100 a seat. Now, this was a while ago, so by now, probably $200 at least a seat as an average. This is a real story. Joshua Bell playing incognito in the metro station was organized by the Washington Post as part of a social experiment about perception, taste, and priorities of people. The outlines were: in a commonplace environment, at an inappropriate hour, do we perceive beauty? Do we stop to appreciate it? Do we recognize the talent in an unexpected context? One of the possible conclusions from this experience could be, if we do not have a moment to stop and listen to one of the best musicians in the world playing the best music ever written, how many other things do we miss? The experiment proved that the extraordinary in an ordinary environment does not shine and is often overlooked and undervalued. There are brilliantly talented people everywhere who aren't receiving the recognition and reward they deserve. But once they arm themselves with value and confidence and remove themselves from an environment that it isn't serving them, they thrive and grow. This is a real story, and I just can't even begin to explain how many ideas I have about this and what could be done differently. But just some of the questions. Sometimes when we see beauty day in and day out, it becomes hidden because you stop appreciating it, because you see it all the time. So to you, it's no longer value because you see it all the time. Let's say your mother cooks so well, or your wife cooks so well, or your husband cooks so well, or somebody in your family who you meet, who you meet every day in and day out for many years, decades maybe. And you stop appreciating that person's gift to take care of you, to cook for you, to just surround you with kindness, because you are receiving every day the same kindness, the same caring, and the same acts of caring, and then its true value becomes hidden. I am convinced that many marriages fall apart because the wife and husband stop appreciating each other. Maybe both, maybe just one. People leave their jobs because they feel underappreciated and undervalued, and they would go to another job, to another workplace where they feel they are being appreciated. Sometimes it's not even an issue of money. Sometimes they would go to another place, maybe working for even less money, just because they feel they have been recognized there, they are appreciated there, and more opportunities are given to them. So sometimes it's not even an issue of money. It doesn't have to be about money. So in conclusion, my question is to you today: do you know your worth? Do you know your value? That's number one. Are you recognized for your value where you are at? Whether it's a workplace, whether it's your family, whether it's your friend circle, church, are you recognized for your value? Are you celebrated for your value? That's number three. Are you appreciated for your value? And number five, or have you settled for people around you who are just tolerating you? Know your worth. Don't stay where you are tolerated. Go where you are celebrated. And that's what I wanted to share today. And now the panel is open for questions, comments, and observations and sharing. So I think it's very clear that most of us have encountered in situations and we were so undervalued, it was not even funny. And looking back, it's like, you keep giving day in and day out, and they have no idea who you are. They have just no idea who you are. But obviously you don't have to stay there, whatever that surrounding is, you don't have to stay there. You obviously want to first address the situation. You want to address that, I don't feel appreciated. I don't feel valued. You can just say thank you when I do something for you. Don't just take it for granted when I wash your dishes. Don't just take it for granted when I don't know, wash your clothes, or if you are in a marriage situation or any kind of situation whatsoever. It could be even in a family situation. About 2 weeks ago or something, or maybe it could have been just last weekend, one of these weekends. I mean, time just flies by. So I was spending time with my family, and I don't mind saying it because it's true, and it's because I believe in openness and honesty, and without naming people, I think it's not gossip. It's something that I encountered, and I was rather shocked by it in a way, although not very surprised. But I want to give it as an example. I'm pretty well versed in media, any kind of movie productions, both sides of the camera, both in front of it and behind it. So I'm pretty well versed. I have about 30 years of experience in media, any kind. Can you hear me, see me?
Right, you went off.
I did, didn't I? It just suddenly collapsed on me. But we are still live. Okay, wonderful. So basically, what happened is that somebody in the family, very, very well, very knowledgeable, but has no knowledge of social media, and he kind of doesn't. Sometimes what you don't know, you don't trust. So he's not against the social media. It's more like he doesn't know anything about it to appreciate it, and moreover to know how to use it for his own advantage. So I started to give him advices as how to do certain things, because he has a lot to share. But he doesn't like being in front of camera in terms of like going on a pulpit and talking to people, but he's very, very knowledgeable, and he knows a lot of things that he needs to share. And I wanted to encourage him to do that. And it's one of my closest family member, actually. And I just began to notice that, my goodness, this person has no idea how very well versed I am in all the things that he needs help in. And I had a lot of people around, we were sitting around the table, a lot of people, family members. And but I had to talk to this person directly and kind of ignoring everybody else. So I would respond to his questions, and we then go back and forth. And I even had one of my telephones with me, and I was able to show him what I'm doing in that very area where he needed the most help. And he was amazed. And it just dawned on me, my goodness, all these years he had no idea what I'm doing. And therefore he couldn't appreciate me in that capacity. Maybe in other capacity he can appreciate, but he had no clue that I'm actually very well versed in things, the very things that he needs help with. I mean, everything he needed help, I was able to help him, and I can set him up. And I just barely scratched the surface in the things that I'm actually doing, and just on that level that he needed the help. It doesn't even have to be professional. And I give him the concept, I give him the whole frame, I give him everything he needs to know, and he was amazed. But I noticed that some people began to leave the table because they were annoyed that I don't even know why. I mean, it's like, I think it's jealousy. I mean, what else could it be? Jealousy, envy. But I was amazed. All these people had no idea what I'm doing. And when they saw me shining in these particular things that they had no clue of, they weren't even interested in that. But they were almost, one particular person actually, she was almost annoyed, or looked annoyed, like, why am I the one who is in the center in this conversation? And it just dawned on me that these people had no idea, even though they're family. They really take me for granted. They have no clue what I'm doing. Although, part of it is my thing that I don't really share what I'm doing, because it's like, how can you share a power school, for instance? How can you share about the German tour we just been through? I mean, I could only tell the basics, because I said, everything is, if we do, it's kind of uploaded on YouTube. Yeah. Most of it is public, so you guys just can look if you want to. But it's like, I really don't like to just throw pearls to people, if they drag it out of me, then I'm more inclined to to give more details. But anybody who really wants to look into what I do, they can, and I would be happy to sit down with you and tell you and share and help, but just on my own, I'm not going to just say, this is what I'm doing, this is no. There's number one, you probably don't have enough time to listen to all the things that I'm doing, even just within a day, because it's just so many things. But But I just realized that, you know what, I am not being appreciated by these family members because simply they don't know who I am in that capacity. They know me in a certain way. So what I'm saying is that sometimes what happens is that what you see every day sometimes becomes hidden to you.
Yeah.
Even though it's very valuable. And it could be part of an aspect of you that is become hidden or became hidden to the people who you meet with every day. It could be church people, it could be your very family, it could be your very spouse, it could be your closest friend, because they just look at you like, someone, it's just a family member, they just look at you and they just take you for who you are on what they see. But there's a lot of things that they don't see about you that is also extremely valuable, but they don't seem to know that because they don't see you from that perspective. They see you, it's more like you are too familiar.
Mm-hmm.
They became too familiar with you. So just want to encourage you that if you feel that some people might treat you like too common, too familiar, maybe it's because they don't know what you do, maybe because they don't know how much you're worth. But either way, if that bothers you, then maybe you need to speak up. Maybe you need to, especially if it's a spouse, obviously you don't want to just, you know what, bye, I'm leaving. You can't do that. With friends, you can. With church, even you can walk out. With the gym, you can walk out, or any kind of surrounding, you can just walk out, even from a job, you can walk out. Marriage, no. But I'm just saying that, number one, you can speak up. You can get the person to be interested in what you do, and vice versa. You might also want to educate yourself on what get to know the person better who you are with. But just don't necessarily stay if it becomes a regular problem or a habit of the other person to kind of overlook you, take you for granted. If you spoke up, if you were explaining things and situation still hasn't changed, chances are the person doesn't really want to value you, no matter how much you do, So you can just walk out. Don't stay where you are tolerated. Go where you are celebrated, because when you are tolerated, there's nothing that you cannot receive anything, number one, and you cannot give anything. There's a lot of relationships I had to close because I felt I cannot receive anything because the person is on a different level. We are just, I am from the moon and he is from somewhere else. So it's like we didn't even meet, on a level. But also the person was not willing to receive anything from me. So if I find myself in a place where I cannot receive, nor can I give, and I'm talking mostly between in relationships as well as in church, because that's also a lot of relationships with people. That's what church is all about, community and all. If you cannot receive anything there, you cannot give anything there, there's no reason for you to stay in that surrounding. And sometimes when you kind of withdraw your presence from people who don't appreciate you, they will learn to appreciate you, because then they will realize, oh my goodness, I miss this person. I miss the person's spirit. I miss the person's input in my life. And sometimes what happens is that they don't notice all the things that you are, even just being there. Even just being there. You don't have to be a Joshua Bell playing on a 3.5 million Stradivarius, but just being there for a person who doesn't appreciate you. Don't settle for that, because you deserve better. And that's what I wanted to say.
Yeah.
Thank you for listening.
Yeah.
Now we can all go home.
Yeah, sometimes I think,
Please speak up.
can you sometimes not know yourself?
Can you say it again?
Can sometimes you not recognize it yourself? Or until someone, say there's people out there that do recognize, and you think, oh, I didn't realize you felt that way, that it was, because you're doing something that you're doing something like you're passionate in love, say like my Pilates, and then you're going in, you're doing it, and you are putting all in, but you're not thinking about putting it all in because it's natural. And then afterwards, until somebody says something, you think, oh, that's nice. You didn't, because you're not going to go and, oh, I'm the greatest, or I can do, you're not going to be going in doing that. It's about focusing and helping people. So it could, I think you just have to be aware of that as well. I think, self-worth, isn't it? Yeah. Self-worth.
Yeah, the thing is, you have to know your worth.
Yeah.
You have to know your worth, because sometimes when you do, like, in a marriage or in a situation that's you do something day in and day, like taking care of your husband or your wife, taking care of the running the house. It's, even if it's taken for granted, that's not okay on any level. It's not okay.
No.
Because why would it be your job? Isn't the other person also live there? You see what I'm saying? So it's like, I'm not talking about marriage, I'm talking about relationships where one person is not being appreciated, as opposed to the other person is, kind of taking and not giving anything. The least the other person can do is to say thank you.
Yeah.
And just, there are so many ways that you can express your appreciation. It could be small gifts, it could be gestures, it could be, but you always know when you are appreciated, even if you don't receive any gifts, or just the way people treat you, the way they look at you, the way they talk to you.
Yeah, I know for our former church, there were always a cleaning team that's cleaning the church very well. We had also a sort of school and Bible school. And I suggest to pastor one person of the cleaning team to let him in the Bible school, because I saw more than cleaning. I saw he was very gentle, very precise, and always doing the cleaning. And I told that pastor, it's fine that he's cleaning, but there's more in him. I see him preaching, but the pastor was very,
so sad.
He was upset. And and what you say about the five violin on the station of the metro, there are two things. I have always to value people I see in the first time. There's always my bottom line. Every person I see, I value him at the first moment, because it's important how you see people, and then you recognize if they come out of their comfort zone and show more from themselves. That's one thing. And what you say about, are people celebrate you, or are you tolerated in your environment, and especially in marriages or in family, you have always to be sharp. How people, especially in family, you are not always sharp, so to say, and you have to always have to see what is my contribution in the family, and how do they react about my contribution, and I make always clear that they will be thankful. I will always, and if it's not, then I have my way to say it on a gentle way, not in public.
Yeah, it's good.
Eye to eye, that's what you have to do. And what I see with you, Princess Reka, that you always value people. And I have seen working you in Lyon, in Hamburg, in several places in Germany. And what I have seen, you are always sharp. You're always contributing the mission. Always not, it's about you, it's about the mission, it's about the man of God. So you contribute, and you take everyone who wants to celebrate that man and can support that man, you take them with you, and you learn them in the way. So we're learning a lot of things the last few years, about protocol, about value, about your behavior, what to say, what not to say. So it's very, very precious to me how you handle things in the family.
Thank you. Yeah, very valuable contribution.
Yeah.
And also there is the other side, that sometimes people don't know their own value. So for instance, that person that you talked about, the one who was cleaning, maybe he thought his only value in this whole situation is that he would be cleaning forever.
Right.
Well, it's very shocking that the pastor had no intention to promote him. He was quite happy.
It was shocking for me. It was shocking for me.
That speaks value of a leader. It speaks
Yes,
value
yes.
of a leader.
Yes,
Because I
because
remember Pop also always says that the pastor should always promote his own people. It's not quite his words, but I'm kind of paraphrasing. But the point is that the job of your mentor, your leader, is that they will bring out the best in you. So I would doubt that somebody was born on this earth just to clean. I don't think that this is the only gift that anybody.
No.
I think everybody should be cleaning after themselves. I think everybody should be contributing, and there is a time when you do service, and we mustn't forget that. Very valuable. But it's not about the cleaning.
No.
Because cleaning anybody can do. But I would sometimes you can work with people. I personally work with a lot of people. My goodness, a lot of people over the years. From different nationalities, and people are people everywhere. So it doesn't matter whether they're black or white or any kind of other color, or they're coming from different cultures. The bottom line is, if they want to serve, you can see that they have a servant's heart. Doesn't matter where they come from. Doesn't even matter what position they hold. But I purposely put people in position where they could serve. And when I see someone doesn't want to serve, I know that that person is a problem. Maybe not today, but someday soon, that person will be a problem. Because if you cannot serve, if you cannot clean the floor or lay out cables for the Lord, you can only preach for the Lord. You don't do it for the Lord. You do it for yourself, because really you see how we work. I mean, you're the same way. You see how we work. It doesn't matter whether we preach, in terms of whether we are in the limelight, or we do cameras, or we lay out the cables, or we clean after, or we do the breakfast, or it doesn't matter in what capacity. We are mission focused, and that's the right attitude, because we want to serve, and by serving the people in any capacity that is needed at that moment. Again, I'm the director of the international director of the entire ministry. So if I can clean, do cables, do cameras, maybe other people can too. You know that I have a servant's heart in that surrounding. I have no problem doing either. I can teach, I can be on the stage, I can do cables in the background. It makes no difference to me. And if maybe I ask you to do the cables, or other people do cables, and my job is something else, but I see that you need help, I rush there immediately, and I start helping you doing the cables, even though at that surrounding it may not have been my assigned duty. But if I see that you need help in any area that could have been like maybe less than what I was assigned to at the time, I have no problem leaving that situation and going and rushing there to help you. But it's interesting, because I know someone, and a very interesting person. He's no longer with us, of course. But once I asked him to do cables. Once. Do you know what he did? He delegated it to somebody else. I knew that he will be a problem. Sure enough, he was a problem. But I always remember, as I was saying, I work with so many people, and there's so many experiences and little anecdotes that I could share, obviously without names, but never fails. When somebody doesn't want to serve, you will always know that there's a problem there. Why wouldn't you serve? Or maybe the person only wants to appear like he's serving when the man of God is around, or when the woman of God is around. Now that's called eye service.
Yes.
Because
Yeah.
the moment they leave the building or they step out of the door or they turn around, you are all of a sudden you are no longer working. You
Mhm.
leave it to somebody else to do your job.
Mhm.
What kind of a nonsense is that? It's
Yes,
almost
yes.
very childish and very immature and very dishonest. And it really, really reveals your heart.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And it's very helpful to watch people, how they behave, how they
Yeah.
react, how they
It's a
do.
social study in and of
So
itself.
I can write a book of it, you
Yes,
know.
you can.
I can write a book of it because
Yes.
I know some moments we had a gathering, we were very busy, it was very late, so everybody go home. And Frida and I looked to each other and said, well, we have to do the dishes because it has to be clean, you know, for the
Yeah.
next person who came in the morning.
Yeah.
And so we were discussing it, but nobody had the idea
Nobody.
to
That's
take
the
that,
thing that
you
it
know?
doesn't even enter their mind. Something is wrong,
Yes, yes,
isn't it?
it is. Yes, it is.
If they excuse themselves, oh, I have to rush, I have to take care of the kids, this and that, then at least they thought about it. But if somebody doesn't even think about doing anything in the background in terms of service or helping others, something's wrong.
yes,
Never
and
fails. And
yes,
people like this will always be problem. People like this you don't want to put on the stage because they are
yes,
only after the limelight. Nothing else matters. They will
yes,
always blow up in your face. So
yes,
yeah,
and
you can
yes,
definitely write books on it.
yes, and I've seen in the life of Cecilia, she go back to England to help her father. She did it very gentle, but there was a moment that Celia have to say to her father that I do it for you, but
Yeah,
do you appreciate what I'm doing?
yeah,
Because you are very old. I'm doing it in free will for
yeah,
you. I clean your home, I clean that, I clean this. And so there's a good relationship between Celia and her father, but she was always clear to give him the message,
that's good.
Daddy, I do it for you, but don't be used with it.
Yeah,
It's special because you are my father.
yeah,
Is it right, Cecilia?
Yeah, he knows it now. Yeah.
You did it so very well.
Yeah, 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 he does say thank you now.
You did
Yeah.
it so very well.
Yeah, yeah. He still call. Yeah, it's because he calls upon you. It's like for every little thing, but you know, I have to every time say, listen, you know, you can't just click your fingers and I'm coming running all the time.
yeah,
But yeah, I just always make him be aware of it because it's like I pick up the phone every 2 minutes. Yeah, I can't come running, and you know, you have to appreciate the grandchildren when I bring them. You know, for what little time you have, you've got to acknowledge them as well. You know, so I'm bringing them to you because if I don't, nobody else will. You know
yeah.
what I mean? He'll never get to see them.
Wow.
Yeah.
So yeah, so that's yeah, I just stop. Well, he did. He has said he appreciates seeing the grandchildren, his great grandchildren. But yeah, he can get carried away now and again. But yeah, I do remind him.
Mhm.
Yeah, yeah. But I think he's the only one, isn't it? Me and Tracy are part of the group. We all value each other.
That's wonderful.
We all encourage one another, don't we, as well?
Yeah, we were there last night, and it's like, you know, anybody needs help, we're there. We pray. We got the group. We pray. You know, yeah. And everybody's always saying, you know, don't be shy. Ask for help. You know, everybody's there. So, but we're you know, we'll say, right, what we're going to do for the church. You know, what's coming up. We've got a vision on Sunday, so we'll see what the vision of the church is and what, you know, how maybe we can serve different, maybe. Yeah, we'll just see what the future vision is for the church that you could be involved in, I suppose.
Mhm.
You know, but I
No,
think
that's very healthy. That sounds very, very healthy.
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, you've got to do something for the Lord, haven't you? You have to. It's the Lord. You're not doing it for the pastor. You're doing it for the Lord. You know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you'll be surprised to see how many people just wants to be served. As opposed to
Yeah,
actually doing something.
yeah,
It's almost like
yeah.
children that way, but children at least are cute, you know. It might be adorable at 5 years old, at 50, not so much. So it's good when you learn to put your foot down and have some serious conversation with people that you feel are undervaluing you, and just give them a chance to get to know you and get to know how well you do certain things. But what struck me about this social experiment with Joshua Bell is that, number one, he was not, you know, being one of the biggest stars in violin anyway, in the world, and has been for decades. I mean, nobody really tops him. But the point is that he didn't object to this thing that, you know, he would play on the street, basically like a street musician. So I see a lot of humility there as well. So that really just spoke to me, as well as the people's absolute I don't even know if it's stupidity or just overlooking someone's value just because they play on the street. Same violin, they maybe don't know the musician, that's fine, but you can tell, I would think you can tell when somebody is playing an instrument masterfully. So how on earth it just never even, and I will post the video so you can see it for yourself. So the guy is playing Bach, you know, and none of these people have even bothered to appreciate it, you know. Children did. Interesting. Children did. Children did.
Right.
So children are beautiful, they're wonderful, and they are not corrupted by this. You know what? Number one, we don't run. They don't care about rushing to the appointments. Obviously, that's part of it, probably. But I don't think that even coming from work, they would have stopped. Okay, now it was like morning hours, you know, rush hours, whatever. I don't think they would have stopped even on the way back to work, back from work. I don't think it has to do with the rush hour. It's the fact that they did not recognize who the person is, okay? They didn't recognize what an enormous gift he is bestowing on the people for free. But those same people were queuing up to get into the theater where they had to pay a lot of money for just 1 hour of his, maybe an hour and a half for the concert. Same people, because when they know that, okay, this is a famous guy, he's going to play famous pieces, he's going to play in a very famous violin, in a very famous theater. Okay, then I recognize. Same person was there for free. And sometimes what happens is that when you don't put a price tag on your value, people think it is not valuable.
Not value. That is 100%.
When you put the price high, then they said, oh, okay, same person, you know, but when you put a price tag on yourself or what you offer, then they said, okay, fine. We have a wonderful friend. His name is Christian Hildegard, and he's from Denmark. You probably heard about it.
Yeah.
And he has a great ministry. I like he's very raw. Even today, he's very raw. And he used to, I don't know if he's still doing this, but he had a wonderful, the biggest and most successful drug center. I think, how you call this, where they get cleaned. Yeah. How you call that, those centers? Rehab. Exactly, I forgot the word. Yeah, the rehabilitation center. So a Christian one, of course, you know, based on Christian principles, but some of the things are the same, you know, like no drugs, no alcohol, none of these things you have access to. And I don't know whether he did this or not, but I'm about to say, but he did say that he did it. So whatever. He said he would take, it's so funny. He would take a club, or what did he say? A baseball bat, and I don't think he ever hit anybody, but he said he would walk around with a baseball bat in the rehabilitation center just to show people that he really means business. I mean, just because you come here and you want to get clean, I will help you get clean, but no funny business. You're not going to play around. You're not going to waste my time and the place that, you know, you reserve for yourself. That place, someone else is waiting to get in, and you're playing around. So he said, just to show how serious I am, I would walk around with a baseball bat. And what was I going to say? Yes. And he said that he would of course hold teachings. This was back how many years ago? Maybe 15 years ago. So of course now he has a bigger name, and of course he has bigger exposure now. But at the time he wasn't that known worldwide. But he would sell his teachings, and at the time we were using CDs and DVDs. And he said, okay, I always want to see wherever I am how much is a musician CD or anybody else, like anybody in the world, like what kind of CDs they are selling and what's the local price for that. And I sell my CDs double the price, because people, especially Christians, seem to be thinking that whatever I have to share, teaching or otherwise, it has to be below the price of the world's teaching. Yet mine is valuable more. Of course it is. It's for eternal life. Whatever you get on this earth is only for this life. So, and he said, I remember what he said. He said, I asked for double the price because I paid for it. Because he's sharing his own experiences, and he, with his blood, sweat, and tears, he paid for those experiences. He said, I'm not going to give it for free, and I'm not going to give it cheap. He said, I'm going to put a price on it at double. And I really celebrated him, because I never heard anybody talk like this, apart from Apostle, of course. But most Christians don't have this mindset. And the tricky thing is that just because the Bible says, freely you have received, freely you give, that is not applying to this situation.
Yeah.
Whatever because also I think Donna Osborne said, or Daisy Osborne said that whatever you can do, put a price tag on it.
Yeah.
Let not Christians think that whatever you do is for free, because they stop appreciating it.
That's true.
And that's I learned that very, very well, because I see it so many times that even when you teach and it's for free, they don't even bother to stop and listen. But if you put a price tag on it, they immediately think, okay, wow, this is something valuable. Same teaching, same person, same situation, everything is same, but for free, I don't want it. For money, I want it. Whatever.
That's a very, very good example, because a few power schools ago in the summer, we invite some ladies, and one of the ladies was very rich. So we told her, you have to pay the apostle for the conference, and you have to pay us some for hospitality, to food and drink, and of course. And then I was very surprised. Oh, it's very expensive. And the other lady said, yes, it's very expensive, blah, blah, blah. But she drove to the whole nation for healing and for everything.
Yeah.
Her car is not on water, so it costs something, I was very surprised. Okay, then you're not value this. It's okay for me. It's okay. Then you have fun and go.
Yeah.
Because I want to have in my living room people who value what we are bringing. It's because it's not something usually you have to hear. It's uplifting. It's blessed. It's so uplifting and so renewing your mind and your spirit. So
and the same person in the world, she would attend to a seminar 3, 4, 5, 10 times the price. A worldly seminar or any kind of, I know enormous prices they ask. They ask like $5,000, $10,000 for a weekend for a seminar. They do.
Yeah.
Yes, they do.
And people pay, not everybody, but that also selects the people. It selects your audience, which I think is a very good thing, because people who have this mindset that this lady you just mentioned, that person will never learn anything. Even if she would sit, listen to the teaching, is the wrong spirit. And with that cheap poverty mentality, the person would never receive anything. She wouldn't even understand what she's hearing. So I'm glad you made the selection. It was very wise of you.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. Okay.
Any other question, comments?
Well, during a session, I was thinking that Jesus washed the feet from 11, 12 disciples. It was not public, it was private. It was in a room. It was closed, and the people were very upset. He was doing it. And my story about this thing is, maybe Jesus was sitting at a table waiting who one of the 12 will washing the feet. And then Jesus by himself stood up and he did the job. And I think all the disciples were very surprised that the master washed the feet of his disciples. And then he told them, what I do to you, please do that to other people. That's the foundation of every ministry, to serve, to serve and to lift up people, and it's not when the light is up on you, you know.
He showed us an example. He didn't just speak about it, he showed it to us.
Show it.
Yeah.
And that have changed them. Then afterwards he was crucified, he raised up, and then they preached the gospel. They have learned a lesson, they have served, and they reached the entire world. I'm
glad you mentioned this story, because I'm reminded of the other story where Mary Magdalene was washing his feet. See, and the disciples were very angry at her for spending that much money on Jesus. In other words, they didn't see his real value, but she did. Isn't that interesting?
Yes, it is.
And it is the same situation what I just mentioned, that when you spend 3.5 years with somebody, or any length of time, you get used to their uniqueness, you get used to their beauty, the things that they do for you, and sometimes you don't see their value anymore. But that person, Mary Magdalene, did not have the luxury of spending 3.5 years with Jesus. I don't know how many times they met, not many times probably, but that few times that they met was so valuable to her that she never lost sight of how important and how valuable and how precious Jesus was to her and to anybody else. And this is the only way she knew how she expressed it. And isn't that interesting that people who should have known his value, the value of Jesus, they didn't recognize his value. They were mad at her because, as they were saying, oh, she was wasting this ointment on Jesus. How can you waste something on the Son of God? I mean, the very idea is absolutely preposterous.
It's his oil in the first place. And it's also with Mary, isn't it, when she was in the kitchen cooking, didn't want to listen to Jesus, and her sister sitting down because she valued what he was saying. But the other one, my sister, tell her to come in the kitchen and help me. Well, then she's going to miss out, isn't she? That meant she, like you said.
I think her that is a little bit different to me, because to me it speaks of priorities. Her priority was the kitchen, the earthly work. The sister's priority was the heavenly values. So because I know that I would have been like the girl in the kitchen. That's me. That's always doing something. That's just the way I am. And I can really sympathize with her, even though she was not in the right place at the right time, but her heart was right. And she wanted to feed them. And, apparently it wasn't the first time that the other girl didn't participate in the household works. But so I can sympathize with her, but I think her heart was in the right place. It was, to me, it doesn't speak of value. It's just more like her priority was to fix the dinner because she was a doer, as opposed to someone who is more of a perhaps spiritual person.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm. And personally, for me, I have make decisions how people treat you. If I am right in all my things, I'm very, I observe, I give them a chance, of course. I give a second chance, and if I'm very good, I give them a third chance. But then you have to go further. Then you have. There are one of the messages Apostle told. There are people they have never heard the message of Jesus. So don't waste your time 10 times for the same person.
Yes.
So
polishing the same shoe every day. Yeah,
that's good. Yeah, that's a good.
Don't keep polishing the same shoe.
So we have to go. We have to win this world. People are very concerned over many things, but there's one thing: people how they look like and how they do. But I was thinking this last week. That he is glad with me, that he who sits on the right hand of the Father said, okay, you are my man, or you are my woman, It's always that I so walk that he is glad with my life on earth, because every day I stand up, I breathe, and I thank the Lord for my breath and my energy and my new day coming, and so that's about the mercy seat. What I wrote one thing what I want to discover the last week. I will discover the very secrets of the mercy seat, to be in the presence of him. And that's very powerful. If we are in the presence of him, then all the things that come out of me and him, it bring life, it bring resurrection, it bring healing, it bring good tidings. And that's always I train my mouth to bring good tidings, especially in this last year where all the news come over you. Somebody say, "Oh, do you have heard?" I think, "Oh no, stop it." I can say to finish sometimes, but I don't want to say it in the world. He is so precious to me. And 48 years ago, 19 January, I say, yes, Jesus, I want to share my life with you. And there's one Bible verse, because I don't want to share my life with Jesus, because I thought, well, I'm a very good man, blah, blah, blah. So why shall I? And then was a very wise person said, well, there's in Revelation, in Revelation 3:23 is a sentence, I standing on your door and I knock. And if you open the door, I come in and will have meal with you. That was the moment to say, okay, come in, Jesus. And then the rest is history. And he is servant on earth, and he saw the value of people. He saw always value of people. He was always uplifting people. So that's my example. So yeah, that's my nature too, to uplift people, because and if people are not doing very well, then I have a smile and say, oh, have a good day, and I go my way. That's the best you can do. Okay, it's sometimes it hurts you, of course. I'm not, but it's okay. It's okay. he have uplifting me so I can uplift others.
That's right.
That's what it is. He was also a violin player who were not recognized by people, you know. God came in human flesh. And say, are
Yes,
you
very
the son
true.
of God? Are that your father?
Yeah.
Hello, cuckoo. You know? And that's our position too. We are connecting with our Heavenly Father. We connected with the Lord of Lords, you know. So that I like to share with you.
Praise God. Thank you. Anything from you, Celia or Tracy?
No, I think, yeah, it's just, yeah, like I just said before, you know, you just have to, yeah, serve him really and know the value. Yeah, and he always said, treat people the way you'd like to be treated, doesn't he?
Mm-hmm.
You know? So, well, then, you know, then that's when, you know, so you'll treat them the way you know, when you go around because Jesus is inside you and you hope that they see Jesus inside you. So he said, I mean, the one commandment is always love thy neighbor as you love yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, but then if they don't see that when you're giving and they don't see it, then like you said, you know, it's like polishing shoes all the time, isn't it, really? So
Right.
it is, I found it was lovely tonight because it was an eye-opener of, yeah, I think, you know, like in the week, you know, you'll go around saying, yeah, I think I'll be going saying, yeah, what I know I can give value, but sometimes I'm like, yeah, who gives value to me? You know, you don't, it's not that you ask it back, but it's just a little thing, isn't it? It can be a tiny thing, like you said, say, thank you. And then so even if somebody says thank you, you know you're appreciated, don't you? It's a simple word to say thank you, like not a gift, not £1 million, just a thank you. And you think, wow, it can do so much for you. You can think, oh, wow. I mean, it's like, for instance, I can make the example, you know, when the girls in the class, so I'll go in the group at night after I've taught my class and I'll say, I hope you enjoyed the class. And then when I hope you're feeling good and you're home, get some rest, and I'll get back. And even if they just say thank you, instead of just, if I've said something, I hope you've enjoyed it because of the acknowledgement, you know, I'm serving you. I'm not coming to do it because of myself. I'm here for you. And some will, some won't. So it's like, oh, okay. But even if they, like I said, just say thank you, I'm like, well, I'm on the right path. You know, just for me to be
And
on the right path.
sometimes it means more than money. Sometimes it means more than gifts. I remember many years ago, I was working in the world in a corporate, very big corporate company, and I was the assistant of the marketing director. So in that whole constellation, he was like God Almighty, because that was so much marketing driven, that whole company, that, you know, being near him was the place everybody wanted to be. Anyway, he picked me to be his assistant. And that was pretty much my first job, like many years ago, my early 20s. And but he had a very different lifestyle, something I didn't agree with, obviously. And he knew that I was Christian. He didn't know that when he picked me. He picked me because I was sharp. He knew I was quick. My English was fluent. He was American. And so he picked me for all the benefits that I could give him, which is fine, you know, it's part of the deal. But he didn't like me personally. And I knew he didn't like me. And we never spoke about his lifestyle. He was gay, by the way. So we never spoke about his lifestyle. I didn't even know until someone told me. I had no idea. I was so naive. But the point is that I never confronted, obviously I would never bring it up, or not, it never came up, but the spirit in him and the spirit in me did not agree. It clashed all the time. And I always knew that because of this, or even though maybe even he couldn't put the finger on it, because of this, he didn't like me as a person. That was the first and only time I remember that that somebody at any workplace didn't like me. He literally didn't like me. And but he gave me a lot of money for Christmas as a bonus. And yeah, it was nice of him and all and whatever, but it just didn't feel like a gift because I knew that the person who gave it to me didn't like me. So sometimes saying thank you means more, and when you feel appreciated, it means more than a lot of money. And I can say from experience that people would rather crave that you would appreciate them, that you would express your genuine love and appreciation and recognition of their person and of their gifts and talents and skills and all the things they have done for you or they are doing for you, especially if it's like a regular thing. Maybe they are your assistant or your wife or husband, someone that, requires a day-to-day work. They would rather appreciate that instead of flowers, gifts, or whatever, they would actually feel appreciated. So, and I can tell from my experience, this is how that situation was.
Maybe it was the spirit that was within him that didn't like you. It was
indeed,
that.
of course.
Yeah,
of course. Yeah, indeed.
Sometimes,
but because he couldn't point anything out that I didn't do right, because I was the best at, and it's so funny that he went behind my back after a while because the tension was so not from my side, because I actually liked him, but he didn't like me. But he tried to replace me with someone. He tried anyone, and HR told me, human resources told me, so he wanted to. Is there anything going on? Like, you guys don't get wrong. I said, no, I didn't know, because he just came in and said, oh, I want anybody else but her. What's wrong with her? And he couldn't point out anything that I did wrong. But indeed, as you say, Tracy, of course, it was the spirit that just couldn't stand me. And they told her, they told him, there is nobody else who's better than her. Nobody else. You will only get someone, a version of less. And then then I confronted you. I said, you have a problem with me? Then let me know. Don't go behind me and try to replace me. And he goes, oh, okay, it's fine. He kind of backpedaled. But it was just a very interesting momentum that is, my goodness, this guy is in so much stress because he hates the spirit.
Yes.
And then, of course, we find a kind of common ground that we were able to work together. So it never became tensions afterwards, but it just came to this peak where he just couldn't stand me being anymore, even though we had separate offices. So it's not like we had to be, sharing the same space. But it was just so interesting that some people just go out of their ways. It's not even you they are against. It's something that they feel constantly conflicted with because of the life that you carry. That's a side note, and another story for another day. But I just thought it's interesting to mention it, that maybe the way people don't treat you is not really about you. It's about them being convicted by the Holy Spirit that is in you and about the light that you are carrying.
Yeah, it's stirring up the spirit, isn't it? That
Yes, indeed.
Yeah, and the fact that obviously you confronted him and spoke the truth out to him probably broke a lot of the tension as well. Yeah.
So it was just interesting. As you said, we can write books and books and books,
Yeah.
so many experiences, but experiences are good because we can teach out of that. I would never trust someone who had no life experience whatsoever and they try to teach, because what are they going to teach? Something that they have seen, something that they have read. And yet you see so many people trying to do vlogging, I'm going to just tell the people, and I'm an influencer. Influencer in what? You haven't lived. You haven't fought through anything. My goodness, you don't have anything to say. Just shut up and sit down. That's again another story for another day. But this is just something that that's going to be very careful who you follow, even on Facebook or on any other social media, because there's just so much junk out there. Nothing redemptive, nothing that uplifting, and nothing true.
Yes.
Nothing true. Something that they think is true doesn't mean that it is true. It might be just their perception by their unique perspective of something that they've misunderstood. My goodness, a lot to talk about that. But
I know.
Getting back to value, don't stay where you are undervalued. Don't stay where you are underappreciated.
No.
Know your value. And also, which brings another aspect of it, just because no one tells you that you're valuable, it doesn't mean that you're not.
No.
It just means that those who are around you don't know your value. So maybe you shouldn't be there. Maybe you should find the group where you are appreciated and make sure that they keep appreciating you.
Yes, that's wisdom.
It is. Yeah. Yeah.
And I think especially for Tracy, you are a very special woman, Tracy.
Thank you. You make me cry.
And I can see that you're always serving, and people
Thank you.
didn't recognize it. So, but there's one who recognized it. That's he who has saved you, and you are precious for him. And you are even precious for me, because I see such a beauty spirit in you. But I saw also that he take you by your hands, and he bring you in an other environment. So please go with him and take the journey to new levels, to new things, because I have a strong spirit in me that said, I will uplift you, I will bring you in a new situations where you can flourish. Sometimes when a plant is growing, you have to take the pot out, and you have to bring a bigger pot or another place by the window. There is more light, so you can grow faster, and you have some stuff in it, some food, some new Bible food.
That's right.
By example. So I will encourage you, go with him, and
thank you.
That's it.
Well, I prayed for a word tonight from this as well. I prayed to the Lord for a word, and I thank you for that word. The Lord's just brought me out of something that was not of God. And like you're on about, and I've accepted crumbs in life because I've not felt worthy. But God's bringing me through, and many journeys I've gone through, many, many, many different journeys. I do believe that the empathy I've got with other people to meet them where they're at, God has used me in a mighty way in the workplace, that people have come through to Jesus. And it's God that does it. He gets the glory, you know, and the journeys that I've gone through, and I have made some foolish choices, but God's turned that around for good and for his, you know, for him. So what you're saying is I will receive that. What you said to me, and thank you, Lord, you know, and bless you. Thank you for that. It means a lot. It does. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Praise
You're welcome.
God.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Wonderful. Anybody else? Are we good?
Yeah. Yes.
Very good.
Okay. Would you like to close in prayer, Alexander?
Yes. Father, I thank you so much for this evening. I thank you for Princess Reka, who brought this to us about our value and how to take care of it. Thank you, Father, for Cydia, for Tracy, for Mark, for Frida, and for our Christ Love Ministry Family International. Thank you, Father, that you are always our inspiration. And thank you, you are full of mercy to us. And I bless all of you, and special Princess Reka. Take a good nap this night so that you will stand up early in the morning, very fresh and confident, with new power for the new day. So be blessed.
Amen.
Amen.
Thank you very much. You guys have a wonderful week. So
You too.
this has been another edition of the Royal Club. Thank you for joining us. We have discussed our value. And again, don't stay where you are tolerated. You want to go where you are celebrated, because that's where you can flourish and that's where you can give. And it's okay to move on if the Lord tells you to. You don't take things you're not supposed to be taking. And yeah, that's it. God bless you. Have a wonderful day and wonderful week.
Thank you.
Thank you.
See you next Wednesday.
See you next time.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.